Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT12, and BT12 offers us lots of new and powerful tools to be able to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be a brand new iteration on ShineGreymon. So ShineGreymon in BT12 is still going to be a tamer-centric deck, where you're going to try to play as many tamers as you possibly can, as quickly and efficiently as you can, and then utilize the fact that you have tamers to do various different things. And with BT12, it only further expands on what ShineGreymon can do with his whole new evolutionary line, trying to dominate the deck and formulate a brand new gameplay style focused around the new Marcus. And Bandai has laid out over on their world website a deck composition for you to be able to look at, have some good reading material, to be able to start formulating the deck and figuring out what you like and what's possible with the deck. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of their deck composition, but I'll be going over not just one, but two different variants on how to approach the deck while we wait for the rest of his support to be able to flesh out the brand new evolutionary line that is going to be the base or new core to how ShineGreymon is going to want to play in the future. But that's just their variant of the deck, and this is my variant of the deck. I do also have a yellow base, and Bandai was playing around with the yellow base, so I'll show that after this, but I do think for the BT12 meta, the red base is just going to be the better base for us to use, because there's more synergistic cards for us to try to take advantage of, while we wait for the other parts and pieces to be coming in later sets to actually finish what the deck is trying to do, and how the new line wants to play. But going over the red base, starting off with the Digitama, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Koromon. It doesn't necessarily matter what version of Koromon you use, as long as it's a Koromon, more specifically for the best at level 3 that we actually want to utilize, so that way we don't anti-tempo ourselves. But I'm going to be utilizing 4 copies of the BT5 Koromon, just because it's going to be helping us draw some cards, utilizing our Greymon and Omnimon base synergies. Next, on to the rookies, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Agumon. So this is the BT1 version of Agumon, and this is a tech or flex spot for the deck, and could really be anything you want it to be. I'm just utilizing him just to try to help dig out our tamers, while also being an Agumon for us to use. But we do prefer to utilize Agumons that are part dinosaurs versus the Agumons that are part reptiles for how the new cards want to play. So I'm going to be running 4 copies of Agumon X Antibody because, well, we're already playing a lot of Agumons, and this is an Agumon that is part dinosaur, while also being another really good consistency tool, looking for our Greymons and our Omnimons, while also having a lot of different ways to be able to utilize the card. But speaking of our other Agumons that are dinosaurs, next I'm going to be running 4 copies of the starter deck version of Agumon from the Gallantmon starter deck. So this is, again, another Agumon that's a dinosaur, while also having a pretty decent inheritable ability to try to DP boost our Digimon, so that way they could be as strong as they possibly can, which is important because we're not all the time going to be aggressing with our level 6 Digimon, and we need to sometimes utilize our level 5, so any way we can make them stronger is a really good thing for the deck. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 4 copies of the brand new BT12 version of Agumon. So the reason why we need to run Koromon eggs is because of this card, but this card is just a really good card to use because it's not only a consistency tool looking for our Greymons and our Marcus Tamer specifically, but it also has a nice inheritable ability to try to help control the opponent's field when our Tamers are going to be suspending themselves, to be able to apply a nice debuff onto the opponent's Digimon, and if we stack enough debuffs onto the opponent's Digimon, then we could delete it without having to worry about anything, or just make their Digimon weak enough for us to want to attack into it and be able to clear their Digimon anyway. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Agunimon. So Agunimon from BT4 is just another tech or flex spot, and it could really be anything you feel like you want to use. I just feel like in a deck that wants to play a decent amount of tamers and has ways to be able to maintain and keep their tamers on the field and use them, I just like the idea of having a hybrid to be able to not only utilize our tamers alternatively as a point of Digivolution, but to utilize our tamers to Digivolve into Agunimon and to try to swing for the game out of nowhere. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of GeoGreymon. So this is the Gallantmon starter deck version of GeoGreymon, and this card, as of right now, is just a necessary evil because we care about the name GeoGreymon, and compared to all the other GeoGreymons we have access to, this is just the best one. Having a nice security ability to be able to play Digimon for free out of nowhere is just nice to have when it does come up, on top of the fact that the on-play ability to try to help control the opponent's field of their low-level Digimon also is just a nice added bonus. But the main level 4 that we actually want to utilize is going to be 4 copies of the brand new BT12 version of GeoGreymon. So the reason why we do care about our Agumons also being dinosaurs versus reptiles is because of this card, on top of the fact that he has a nice when digivolving ability to be able to help play a Marcus if we don't already have one in play, which our Marcus, the new one, does have the potential to end up deleting himself, so this is just a good way to be able to not only set up in the early game, but reset up in the mid to late stages of the game as well. Then his inheritable ability is doing the exact same thing as what we just saw with that Agumon, where it's just some nice added control with that debuff for suspending our tamers. Next, on to the level 5s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of RizeGreymon X Antibody. So RizeGreymon X Antibody is just one of the better RizeGreymons that we have right now. You could think about utilizing the red RizeGreymon, and I'd rather just have a pseudo level 6 in the form of this RizeGreymon, just because this RizeGreymon is also going to digivolve on top of our RizeGreymon, so we could take advantage of its inheritable ability, while also adding to his own DP for every tamer that we have in play, while also being able to play a tamer, and if we digivolve them on top of a RizeGreymon, then we also get the added benefit on trying to DP reduce the opponent's Digimon, which is just the sub-theme of the deck on how it wants to try to control the opponent's Digimon. And then as far as the other level 5 of the deck goes, I'm just going to be utilizing 4 copies of the brand new BT12 version of RizeGreymon, and because of this card is why we care about GeoGreymon so much, so that way, again, we could digivolve as efficiently as we possibly can. Then when we digivolve up into this card, he could be even more efficient by allowing us to gain a memory for having a tamer in play, which is just pretty nice, on top of the fact that his All Turns ability allows us to be able to utilize the fact that our Marcus could accidentally delete himself, or if our Marcus does get deleted from the opponent's card effect, then we just get to throw it on the top of our security, recovering us and setting up a tamer, so when the opponent attacks into our security, out comes the tamer. And then the inheritable ability is doing the exact same thing as that All Turns ability, where it just allows us to be able to have the ability to potentially replay our Marcus tamer. And then the last Digimon of the deck and only level 6 of the deck is going to be 4 copies of the brand new BT12 version of ShineGreymon. So this version of ShineGreymon is really powerful just because, again, we do care about RizeGreymons, so that way we could digivolve into them as efficiently as we possibly can. We actually can use RizeGreymon X Antibody for that Digivolution cost of 3 because he just cares about RizeGreymon in its name. Then for digivolving up into this Digimon, we get to apply a massive debuff on one of the opponent's Digimon and all of their security Digimon for each tamer that we have in play. So the more tamers we have in play, the bigger this effect will be at just trying to control the field and their security. Then on top of that, what this card is doing is allowing our Marcus Damon tamer to gain some extra DP and security attack plus, so that way our Marcus, when it's going to be attacking the opponent, is going to be as powerful as it possibly can be. But speaking of Marcus, next on to the tamers, I'm going to be running 3 copies of the old BT4 version of Marcus. So this is going to be the deck's dedicated memory fixing tamer to always set our memory at 3, while also having a nice added benefit to be able to potentially gain some extra memory when our Greymons are going to be attacking. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Tai and Kari Kamiya, just because this is another card to try to debuff the opponent's security, while also being another red or yellow tamer, while also having a nice ability to be able to gain us some extra memory for our security being low and the opponent's security being low. And then the last tamer of the deck is going to be the most important tamer of the deck, and that's going to be 4 copies of the brand new BT12 version of Marcus. So this card is super powerful just because it's acting like a hybrid without needing anything else outside of an Agumon or Greymon on the field. So we get to pay 1 memory to turn this tamer basically into a Digimon that's unable to Digivolve, but that's okay because we're just going to be swinging with this card to be able to gain all of the buffs and benefits that he could potentially get off of our ShineGreymon, but also utilizing his secondary ability in tandem with wanting to use this card to attack into the opponent's security, because when this tamer becomes suspended, we get a Digivolve into a yellow Greymon for free. And then when it comes to the options, we do have a decent plethora of options that we could run in terms of various different tech and tools. So I'm going to be running 1 copy of Crimson Blaze just because we already have the ability to try to debuff the opponent's Digimon, and utilizing this card's cost reduction ability for each Digimon that the opponent has allows us to be able to clear wide fields very easily, while also acting as a pretty decent floodgate to stop the opponent from playing Digimon by card effects, which there's a decent number of decks that have that ability, so we could use this card to potentially shut them down. Next, I'm going to be utilizing 2 copies of Red Memory Boost just for some added consistency and extra memory generation. Next, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Sunrise Buster. So this card is so good that it did get limited down to 1, which is why we can only run 1 copy. So what this card is doing is it allows us to be able to play a tamer for free, which for a low-costed option is already pretty decent, on top of the fact that it's controlling one of the opponent's Digimon and can act as a pretty decent removal tool. For each tamer that we have in play, we get to reduce one of the opponent's Digimon by 3000 DP, so the more tamers that we have, which this card is setting up, the more powerful this card is going to be, especially as a nice security threat as well. And then the last card and last option of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Shining Blast, as basically just a discounted version of Sunrise Buster. But that's just the red base, and here's what I think a good example of the yellow base is going to be. So to kind of rapid fire things, you're going to want to use the new Koromon just because it's interacting and synergizing with the fact that we have tamers. We're going to use the yellow Agumon because it's another Agumon that's a dinosaur, and it again interacts and synergizes with us having tamers in play, even though it's not the best Agumon in the world. Then we do have Bushi Agumon in case we do have enough memory generation to be able to hard play the card and utilize its rush ability, but again, it's another Agumon that's a dinosaur. Then the unique spiciness that I kind of liked from what Bandai was doing is it utilizing the 2-color searchers. So Armadillomon is a way to be able to search out our 2-color cards that are part yellow. And then again, we're just going to be utilizing the best Agumon for the deck, which is the new BT12 Agumon. Then when it comes to the level 4s, the GeoGreymon, we don't have a whole lot of options for in yellow, so again, just a necessary evil, and we're borderline forced to play this card. Otherwise, we're not going to be super efficient with some of our other cards. Then I'm still going to be running a hybrid, just again, because we don't have a whole lot of tech and tools to actually be able to utilize a yellow core or yellow base, as well as the red core or red base. Then again, we're just going to be utilizing the best cards, which is going to be the BT12 cards as the last level 4. Then when it comes to the level 5s, we do have the yellow RizeGreymon. You could also think about utilizing the red RizeGreymon as well, but again, these are just kind of fluff and filler cards, and they're just okay at being able to help set up our tamer alternatively while having a decent inheritable ability on their own. But again, the most important cards is going to be the new BT12 RizeGreymon, as I already highlighted before, and RizeGreymon X Antibody is still just one of the better RizeGreymons that we have access to, especially since we don't care or want to run a whole lot of level 6s, so we could allocate those deck spaces somewhere else, so this is acting basically like a pseudo level 6. Then we're still going to run the ShineGreymon because, again, it's just the best ShineGreymon that we have. And you could even think about running a level 7. I think the yellow variant kind of needs the level 7 to be able to bolster it a little bit more, just because it doesn't have as aggressive or offensive of tools. So one of the best level 7s you could run is going to be the BT5 Blitz Omnimon. Then when it comes to some of the yellow options, yellow has a slew of different removal options, but you're also going to want to try to utilize some of their memory boosts as well, and yellow has one of the best memory boosts in the form of reinforcing memory boost to try to be able to rig our security, ideally with a tamer. Then we still have the Shining Blast and Sunrise Buster cards that we're going to run, because a lot of our cards are going to be two colors, part yellow and part red, to actually be able to utilize the options. Then we're still going to want to utilize the red and yellow tamers in the form of Kamiya and Kari Kamiya, on top of the fact that we do have some other consistency tools in the form of a tamer with TK Takashi, actually allowing us to be able to look at our security and be able to pull cards from our security, which yellow has a lot of different ways at being able to rig its security. Then a nice cute tech card, just because we're running a lot of two-color Digimon, is going to be Cody for some extra memory generation and DP reduction. But the most important tamer, again, is still going to be the brand new BT12 Marcus, because of the Marcus-based synergies that the deck already is playing around with, on top of everything that I laid out on how to utilize the card in the red variant. And the cool thing is we could be as aggressive as we want with this card, as long as we have the RizeGreymon from BT12 to be able to back it up, so that way when the Marcus swings, he'll delete himself. Then the RizeGreymon will trigger its ability to be able to put him on top of our security. We could use TK to pull it out, or just leave it in there. And it just is a really good card, especially in combination with a lot of our other BT12 tools, to be able to do lots of different things. And as I've pointed out before, it's really just the BT12 cards starting and forming this new deck, and a lot of the cards that you're going to be playing and trying to put inside of the deck are going to center and focus around what these new Tekken tools are doing. And as we get into further sets with the EX4 and BT13, then it's just going to be more and more support for this specific playstyle. So as far as the core of the deck, it's literally just going to be the BT12 cards with a little bit of some BT9 support, just because the BT9 cards were really, really good then, and they're still pretty good now, especially since we don't have a whole lot of Tekken tools to flesh out the deck currently. But when a deck isn't necessarily fully fleshed out, that's usually when we have to run a whole bunch of various other Tekken tools to be able to formulate a combination of cards to make the deck as coherent and cohesive as we possibly can, while we wait for its other pieces to come later. And that's the most fun part of deck building, is when you don't have that complete core, so it leaves a lot of room for you to be able to experiment and utilize a whole bunch of different sub-packages. So one such sub-package that you could think about running is utilizing the BT12 red and black Agumon, because we're already playing with Tai and Kari Kamiya, which is a Tai Kamiya, so we could use the Agumon to help search out our other Greymons and that tamer specifically, while utilizing the Greymon to be able to set up that tamer as well. Then on top of that, if we are running other Greymons, we could also think about running Greymon X Antibody, just because it could digivolve on top of a Greymon. No, this unfortunately doesn't work with GeoGreymon, but we do have enough other level 4 slots in the deck to be able to incorporate other Greymons. And the cool thing is we could use the cost reduction ability to be able to digivolve into our RizeGreymons extra efficiently. Then we do have some Digiburst synergy. So we do have the BT4 Agumon. That's also another red Agumon that's part dinosaur, while being synergistic with utilizing the Digiburst ability, which we do have a GeoGreymon that also has a Digiburst ability to control the opponent's field. And we do have the RizeGreymon that also has a Digiburst ability to try to help set up our tamers as another sub-package we could lean into. Then, speaking of just other generically decent cards we could run the red Greymon, just because there's a lot of different good red Greymons. I'm just going to be highlighting this starter deck 1-1. Then we do have another two-color searcher in the form of Hawkmon to be able to search out our two-color cards that are part red. And we do have some other ShineGreymons that we could think about utilizing that synergize and interact with the fact that we're going to be playing tamers. So we have the BT4 one to try to make him super powerful and deal as much damage as he possibly can, while we also have the BT2 one, which is another good card to try to control the opponent's field for us having a lot of tamers on our field. But if you do just want to play a generically decent level 6 for the deck, then you could just try to run and lean into some of the other Greymon synergies and run the BT4 War Greymon. And because we are a tamer-based deck and we do have a room for various other tech and tools and packages, we could even run the Bond package, just because if you're already leaning into the BT12 Agumon, that means we could run some extra tie Kamiyas to be able to utilize its effect better, and Agumon Bond of Bravery just cares in combination with the BT6 tie to be able to not only just help us gain some extra resources, but use our various Agumons that we're going to be running to be able to warp Digivolve into our Bond, so that way we have some powerful plays that way. And then if you're just looking for a generic tie that you could run, then we do have another memory setter that also will make a red Digimon, as long as it has enough cards in its inheritable sources, have Security Tech 1 to try to make them even more dangerous as well. And as I mentioned before, yellow just has a slew of different other options, and red also has a slew of different options to be able to use for various different things, depending on what you're actually trying to gain out of the deck. And yellow also has some pretty decent other tools in terms of like some of the other yellow hybrid stuff that you could kind of lean into. So it just leaves a lot of room for customization inside of the deck, depending on what color base you're running and the type of tech and tools you want to try to incorporate into the deck. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.